Storm clouds are the breeding ground for a ferocious natural phenomenon that almost every year turns killer.
It's a bulldozer with a jet engine.
This could be the most terrifying force of nature, the tornado. Short, unpredictable, deadly.
Well, it's pretty traumatic.
Twisters produce the fastest wind speeds on Earth. A killer cone that can hit over 300 miles an hour. It's way too dangerous to get close.
It looks like a war zone.
Tornadoes are as mysterious as they are deadly, a source of constant surprises. But one thing's for sure, some of the deadliest storms on Earth are tornadoes. This show will take us into the heart of the twister to find out how tornadoes work, what they can do, and how to survive one.
And if you're not underground, then you probably won't survive it.
First, the basics. A tornado is a swirling vortex of wind, a finger of cloud reaching down to earth and grabbing debris and dust. Tornadoes can last from a few seconds to over 3 hours. As well as spinning, tornadoes have suction. At their center is a massive updraft that can raise roofs, debris, even entire trucks high into the air, and then spit them out.
In some cases, tornadoes can carry incredible weights. An 83-ton railroad car was bounced and moved a distance over 50 feet. A 75-ton petroleum storage tank was rolled across the ground more than 100 feet, crushing a house along the way.
Thunderstorm clouds pull up air from the ground like a massively powerful straw. This air comes in from every direction, and as it closes on the cloud, shaped like water around a drain, the air starts to spin. The closer it gets, the faster the spin. And this is how a tornado forms. But this is a drain with a powerful suction. We know how a tornado forms, but almost everything else about it remains a mystery. These storms are so dangerous, it's not easy to get close enough to explore them. The one thing we do know is that they're full of surprises.
A tornado can change direction very quickly. In the course of a city block, a tornado can make a 30-degree change, even a 180-degree change, reverse direction and go in an opposite path.
It's so hard to measure the speed of the wind in a tornado that they're rated by the damage they do. Tornadoes are ranked from 0 to 5, measured on the Fujita scale. At level 1, so-called moderate winds destroy trees and blow down signs. The strongest level 5s wreak total devastation. And there's one place on Earth they really hit hard. Big twisters are as American as apple pie. This is Tornado Alley, USA, stretching from Texas to Nebraska. In the last century, across the Great Plains, thousands of people have been killed by tornadoes with billions of dollars of damage. About 1,000 tornadoes strike the USA every year. is awesome and rises hugely with speed. This wind tunnel is used to test building designs for their wind resistance. Let's find out what it's like to be inside a tornado.
This is about 30 miles an hour, so it's a fairly stiff breeze. This should be about
That's about 45 miles an hour. This is 75 miles an hour. That's what 75 miles an hour is like. That's where a level 1 tornado starts. Level 5 goes up to 318, the fastest wind speed ever recorded on Earth. And at that speed, a twister's going to tear a whole city to pieces without even pausing to catch its breath. We're going to show you the strongest tornado ever recorded and the incredible storm that spawned it.
Storm Week was brought to you by Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you.
On May 3rd, 1999, a line of big storms took shape and was moving across Oklahoma. The biggest of them all, they call Storm A. In the sultry sunshine of the southern plains of the USA, a very special kind of thunderstorm emerges. These are called supercells, and Storm A was a big one. They produce hail, rain, lightning, and tornadoes. The reason supercells form here is quite well understood, and it comes from the unique geography of North America. Humid air travels north from the Gulf of Mexico. From the southwest, there is hot, dry desert air, and from the Rockies, a stream of cold, high-flying air. Tornado Alley is where they meet. Hot air rises, that's how hot air balloons work, and cold air sinks. That means the atmosphere is unstable. The hot and cold air are trying to swap around. There's one last ingredient, a kind of spin called wind shear. The air moves in different directions and speeds at different heights. And this is what kick-starts the rotation of the supercell and the twister. That's just what happened in Oklahoma in May 1999. Storm A had already spawned an F3, just a warm-up. As it continued to move northeast, it gave birth to another tornado, an F5, and it was very special indeed.
All of a sudden it got really still, and then we could hear this loud roar. To me, it didn't sound like a train. It sounded like a jet airplane flying right over our heads.
It went right over the top of us. We couldn't have been any more in the middle of it if we tried.
I thought we were dying.
Oh my God, I know it.
This tornado peaked at a mile wide. 40 people died in Oklahoma that day, and 675 were injured. The twisters caused almost $1.5 billion of damage. This was the most expensive twister outbreak in U.S. history. The F5 tornado that hit Oklahoma City rewrote the record books. Radar readings enabled scientists to measure the fastest wind speed. It was 318 miles per hour. That's the fastest wind ever recorded on Earth. are some of the world's leading storm scientists, and we're along for the ride to get as close to a tornado as we can. But in the land of the twisters, nothing is guaranteed. We went out looking for tornadoes. We were in for a surprise. This is the Texas Panhandle, an area of flatland. The indications all look good for tornadoes today. Here, many of the supercells that spawn tornadoes are born. This is what the twisters call home. These bizarre-looking trucks are carrying radar. They're the same trucks that measured the fastest wind speeds ever recorded in the Oklahoma City tornado. We've been on the tail of a promising supercell all day. It's been 9 hours and hundreds of miles, but it's starting to look like a no-show for us after all. Even the best storm chasers in the world don't know what a storm's going to do next. At last, our luck changes. We're closing in on a storm.
On the road.
Over the radio, the decision to reposition. We're in the wrong place. It looks like the storm is going to outsmart us.
We're going south. Fuel tube. Hop in.
What we can see is the classic tornado-producing phase of a supercell. It's called a mesocyclone, which is like a relaxed tornado, the same kind of energy, the same updraft, the same rotation, but spread across an area several miles wide. The speed of the wind is much lower. It still seems safe enough. What we're hoping is the updraft will start to really pull air in, concentrating the spin into a twister. But this storm isn't going to play nice. The first painful bite of an angry storm. Time for everyone to get back into the vehicles as fast as possible. This supercell has turned from a tornado maker into a big-time hail maker. These hailstones are the size of golf balls, and they can do real damage if they score a direct hit. Inside the car, it sounds like we're being attacked by a machine gun. The windshield starts to look like it's going to give way. The side mirrors are already gone. Time to take shelter. The storm has only been going for 20 minutes. But already the hailstones lie thick on the ground. It's midsummer in Texas, but it looks like midwinter. As the storm comes to a stop, everyone gathers to assess the damage. No one has come out unscathed.
There's always possibilities you can get tornadoes out of these, and in fact, this storm did make a tornado when it interacted with some other storms way up near Freona. But by the time we got on them, really it was just a big hail producer.
But how can a storm that's meant to make tornadoes turn into a hailstorm? The same upward suction that forms tornadoes is to blame. Raindrops are pulled up so high into the cloud that they freeze. Suspended in the updraft, they get covered by water and freeze again, producing layers of ice. When hailstones get to this kind of size, the clouds just can't hold their weight and they fall to the earth. It's a pretty terrifying experience being caught in hail the size of golf balls, even in a car. These can be dangerous weapons. In the not too far distance, lightning strikes again and again. We could feel the swirling winds of the supercell bringing alternating hot and cold air. This storm hasn't quite finished with Texas.
Storm Week was brought to you by the Home Depot. You can do it. We can help.
Imagine a storm so fierce, so powerful, it can mean only one thing. Storm Week is here. Tomorrow, the drama continues. Winds overturn vehicles. Homes are demolished. Think it could get any worse? This hurricane has only just begun. Experience the awesome power. Watch Hurricane. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern and Pacific as Storm Week continues on the Weather Channel. Come prepared.
It isn't necessarily the biggest storms that produce the biggest tornadoes. Right now, no one really knows why one storm makes tornadoes and another one doesn't. We don't even know what makes for a bigger or smaller tornado, or what makes some storms produce more than one twister. It's perfectly possible for a tornado to be totally invisible. Sometimes it's only the moving debris that shows that it's there. Usually tornadoes are visible. As well as the swirl of dust, the low pressure in the funnel causes moisture in the air to condense like an aerosol spray, making a finger of cloud. Some measurements of tornadoes seem to show that what we actually see is only the very core of the tornado. The deadliest part of the tornado could be totally invisible. Tornadoes can even occur without supercells, and they don't have to be over land. Let's go right around the world to Australia to meet a giant waterspout, as sea twisters are known. This is Sydney Harbor during the summer of 2001. These boats are making their final preparations for a grueling journey. They're about to venture out into the Tasman Sea to compete in the yacht race to Hobart. It's always a hard journey. But in 2001, 11 yachts retired on the very first night of the race. Just watch what happened next. This yacht is an 80-footer. What first struck the captain about the waterspout was how white it was. It was coming straight for them. As the spout swept over the boat, it flipped it right on its side. 20 tons of yacht tossed around. Their mainsail was shredded as they passed right through the middle of the twister, and huge hail pummeled the deck. Tornadoes form under supercells. Most waterspouts don't. They form under ordinary thunderstorm clouds, often before a drop of rain even has fallen. The cloud provides updraft, and the spin comes from shifting winds. It's rare that they reach massive speeds. The effects can be catastrophic. Luckily, none of the crew was killed. Waterspouts don't pick up debris like tornadoes do. And this was only an 80-mile-an-hour wind. The yacht carried on, shaken and stirred, and very seasick. If you want to understand a tornado, there's one unusual way to do it. Make one for yourself. That's what they're doing here. And the recipe includes bubbles and sawdust. First, this fan creates a powerful updraft, the suction that's at the heart of every tornado. But the motion of the air doesn't seem to be forming into a vortex like a tornado does. It's only when the second fan comes into play that a recognizable twister begins to form. This fan puts the twist in Twister. Just like a real tornado, they have to add something to make it visible. In this case, ordinary soap bubbles are released into the vortex. Finally, they add debris. On this scale, it's just sawdust. They have created a replica of a twister, with a wide debris cloud at the bottom and a narrower funnel. The scientists can control precisely how much fin they add to the recipe. With less fin, it makes a rope of bubbles rising to the thundercloud above. This is the shape often seen as a tornado first forms or starts to dissolve. As the spin starts to balance out the updraft, the tornado thickens up and forms the more characteristic funnel shape. This is the most destructive kind. The wind speeds are higher, the overall force greater. Lives could be saved every year if we could tell exactly when a tornado was coming, but we can't. So if we want to know about tornadoes, we need to look at the storms that produce them. And that's just what these people are doing. On the outside, this may look like a 1950s training plane. Its front surface isn't just loaded with scientific instruments, but strengthened with thick armor plating. This is where a bolt of lightning burned a notch on its way out. The plane's been hit more than 30 times. Because this plane is the only aircraft on Earth capable of flying through a supercell. Now they scramble, heading for the heart of a storm. They're going to measure the exact temperature in different parts of the cloud to try to understand how tornado makers work. A second team is going to get in under the storm cell. They plan to release scientific balloons into the belly of it. They hit the road in an Oklahoma rainstorm on the track of a supercell. Some scientists think that temperature may be what turns an ordinary storm into a twister. These special helium-filled latex balloons carry instruments to measure temperature, humidity, and electrical charge. Like the plane, the giant balloons are taking the storm's temperature. They hope to find out why only some storms fire off twisters. The storm cloud dwarfs the people above and beneath it. They're homing in on how tornadoes really work. It's pretty scary being hit by lightning, even in an armored plane. The kinds of downdrafts that live inside supercells would rip the wings off a passenger jet in an instant. If this plane strayed into the heart of a tornado, for all its armor plating, it would be history. When a tornado hits people on the ground, it can be just as devastating. Tornadoes are killers. This guy's been close to the heart of one, and incredibly, he's lived to tell the tale. His testimony is vital for those trying to understand tornadoes. The first thing Tyler knew about the tornado, it was coming through the trees. People in Oklahoma have lived around twisters all their lives. They know they're killers. First priority, find a place to hide.
They were saying if you're not underground, then you probably won't survive it.
Tyler raced with the others to an underground pipe. They dropped down the hole and crawled as far as they could inside. Even so, they were only just out of reach of the ferocious winds. Tyler felt the clothes being ripped off his body. His mobile phone was carried away by the wind. The twister was trying to pull him out, and then it had passed.
I peeked my head out and to see what happened. I looked up and The whole building's gone. There were semi-trucks just all over the place, you know. It looked like a war zone.
When they emerged, they encountered a scene of total ruin. The freight terminal was gone. This car had been picked up and thrown the length of a football field before being squashed flat. That's the power of a twister. Like everyone who's lived through one, Tyler was lucky. If you think what happened to him was scary, check out what a twister can do to the human body when it turns ordinary household objects into high-velocity missiles. Small stones become bullets at hundreds of miles an hour. An ordinary pin could be embedded deeply in the human body. A sheet of glass or metal could sever limbs in an instant. Mud can be driven deep into the skin. Eye sockets and ears fill with debris. Someone who's been in a big twister can come out the other side with no skin, literally sandblasted. Sometimes they don't even find the body. With a water spout, debris is less of a danger. There's nothing but water for the storm to pick up. That's why the crew of the racing yacht survived. But there are much stronger water spouts, and if one of those had hit the yacht, the boat itself would have been picked up and smashed. Twisters usually move northeast in the United States. The Kansas tornado of 1991 was no exception. Observers said they could see 3 separate funnels swirling around one another. A small town called Andover was to bear the brunt. Their sirens were out of action. A police officer drove the streets trying to get the warning out to as many people as possible. He reached this mobile home park just in time. Almost 300 people were saved because they made it to the shelter. 13 died when the tornado ripped hundreds of mobile homes to pieces. The same tornado outbreak caught this camera crew on the interstate. They ran for cover under the bridge, and they survived. This footage was broadcast around the world. They didn't realize how lucky they were. In the 1999 tornado season, at least 2 people were killed after being blown out from under an interstate bridge. Like standing under a tree in a thunderstorm, it's actually the worst possible place to hide. This is how it works. An interstate bridge is a V shape. As the wind goes through the V, it has less and less space. It is believed that the same amount of wind in less space means more speed, and the bridge could act like an amplifier, accelerating the wind. It's a myth that an interstate bridge is safe, and the myth is causing people to take shelter in a death trap. They'd probably be safer away from the bridge, taking cover in a ditch. But it isn't easy to find somewhere that is safe when a twister comes visiting. This is the city of Moore, May 2003, and it could be one of the unluckiest places to live. May 2003 saw more tornadoes touch ground in the United States than any other month. And one of them took out this street. It could be one of the unluckiest places to live. Tornado warnings were issued in the city of Moore 21 minutes before the twister was spotted. This used to be a home until it turned into the epicenter of the May 8th tornado.
This room right here used to be my living room, and that was a bedroom over there. This was a kitchen, and kitchen area there, and a dining room right here.
The demolition job is awesome and can be deadly. If a big tornado catches you unprotected in an ordinary house, your chances of survival can be slim. Round here, being ready for tornadoes is a way of life. to know how a tornado actually turns what used to be a house into rubble? Tornado aftermath can look bizarre. The roof and walls can be gone, and the interior be left almost untouched. Even delicate ornaments remain unmoved. This is because a tornado deconstructs a house from the top down. When there's a tornado, the shape of a roof can act like an aircraft wing. Just like a wing, the wind rushing across it creates lift. That starts to pull the roof up, away from the walls. The pressure of the wind on the front wall pushes it in, blowing the other walls outwards. With the roof gone, the house simply collapsed. It's thought that an F5 wind exerts a lifting force in the region of 100 tons. This is where building materials come to die. They've made a machine that throws debris around just as fast as a tornado does. The aim is to find out what might happen to buildings in the most extreme of natural conditions. We're going to put the force of a tornado impact through its paces. Tornado damage, F3 style. This is specially reinforced hurricane glass. But plenty of houses don't have reinforced windows. This is the kind of material many houses are built from in Tornado Alley. Even with an F3, a moderate tornado, the walls aren't going to provide a lot of protection. But now it's time to see what a twister can really do. The team reset the machinery for an F5. Now pieces of debris can be traveling at over 100 miles an hour. This test is going to show what it's like to be in a building hit by a full-force tornado.
3, 2, 1.
The wall looks like it's made of paper. The furniture doesn't offer any protection either. In fact, it's the furniture that can kill you. In this kind of tornado, ordinary buildings are history. Now, a specially reinforced tornado wall. This is made of 2 layers of brick. The gap between them is filled with reinforced concrete. Even the tornado can't get through. And that's why in Tornado Alley, it pays to prepare for the worst. Meet a man whose life was saved by a good tornado shelter.
I've been in 3 tornadoes.
Don got into this safe room as soon as he heard the alert, 20 minutes before the twister hit. When it did, it went right over the top of the shelter. It started to vibrate as metal debris hit it with ear-splitting impact noise. In key tornado danger areas, the U.S. government provides money to help build shelters. Last time a tornado hit, he sheltered in the bathroom and survived. If he tried that in 2003, he wouldn't be alive to tell the tale. Instead, he was inside this concrete box. It's constructed in a single pour, so that there are no cracks or potential weaknesses. The door is steel and locks tight. It may look pretty cramped, but you probably only need to be inside for half an hour or less. It can take almost anything that a tornado can throw at it. It's just like being in a safe.
How do you describe a tornado for anybody that's never been through one? It's a bulldozer with a jet engine, and that's a tornado for you.
But some people don't have any choice, and they have to get in the face of a tornado. ...2003 had seen the worst tornado month ever recorded in the U.S. Over 500 twisters touched ground in May alone. Because of the warnings, only 40 people were killed. It's pretty amazing to see what the twister did to this street. These houses were rebuilt after the 1999 tornado. So were the ones that used to stand here. It's extremely rare for two big twisters to hit the same spot. This street is that spot. Usually the closest you can get to a twister is to examine the destruction it leaves behind. Once we know the level of damage this tornado caused, we'll know how severe it was. That lets the scientists estimate the wind speed. The Federal Emergency Management Agency moves in to start the cleanup. Part of their role is to assess the damage. Smashed furniture, debris all over the place. The corner of Lawton and Northwest 12th Street, where there used to be a street sign. This is the direction the tornado took as it powered through here. And this is where the street sign ended up, embedded in the upstairs landing of a nearby house, more than 200 yards away.
Northwest 12th and Lawton Avenue.
Because that's what twisters like to do, pick things up and move them around. One of the most amazing things about tornadoes is their ability to move huge objects or to carry smaller pieces of debris for hundreds of miles. June 8, 1995, Pampa, Texas. There's a tornado alert in force. This isn't a killer twister. But as the storm passes through an industrial area to the south of town, it picks up staggering quantities of debris, from huge things like vehicles and bits of buildings, down to small personal items like photos, checkbooks, even receipts. If you think the destruction the funnel causes is amazing, just wait and see where some of the stuff it grabbed ended up. The aftermath of the Pampa storm is the centerpiece of a study into what happens to the debris that is carried off. Some of the items picked up by the twister can be traced. A receipt traveled more than 70 miles northeast from Pampa into the neighboring state of Oklahoma. Heavy debris was carried half that distance. The furthest the twister ever carried an object is 223 miles. There are two ways in which tornadoes pick things up. With light objects, the updraft carries them. This means they can be pulled right up into the supercell itself. With heavier objects, shape is crucial. A car is not that different in shape from an aircraft wing. If the wind's blowing fast enough, it can lift the car off the ground altogether. But if the car changes the way it's facing the wind, the lift can disappear in a flash, and the spinning funnel spits it out, back onto the ground with devastating consequences. To get inside a twister, scientists are going to have to find a way to keep their instruments on the ground. These revolutionary red cones are one way of doing just that. and they are the only scientific devices ever to have been through a tornado and come out the other side with accurate pressure readings. It takes years of experience to accurately predict where there's going to be a tornado. The winds need to be in the right direction. The humidity has to be high. And bizarrely, tornadoes like sunshine. It helps to destabilize the atmosphere. The probes have been extensively tested in wind tunnels. They should be able to stand up to the winds of even the most vicious twister. They are this flattened cone shape to prevent the tornado from picking them up. Each of the holes in the surface of the probe is the entry to a pressure sensor, and from the weather data, they can actually measure the speed of the wind in the tornado. The only problem is getting it into the right place. No one else has ever done this. It doesn't just take the right technology. It takes the guts and experience to get close enough to a twister.
Massive tornado! Gonna cross the road!
They have to leave placing the cones to the last second. They want it to pass right over the probes. But now it's time to run for it.
Let's go!
The probes are designed to survive a tornado, but the team is not. They have to retreat to a safe distance in the van and wait out the twister. They don't know if the probes are going to make it. Tests are one thing. Tornadoes are another. The mission is a success. They've discovered the drop in pressure in the heart of the tornado is bigger than they expected. The suction is more extreme than they ever measured before. Tornadoes don't last forever. There's a reason why they shut down. As long as the storm goes on producing an updraft, there is a power source for the twister to go on wreaking its destruction. If the storm power is shut off, the tornado evaporates. All twisters do eventually come to an end. One thing's for sure, all big tornadoes will leave behind some kind of damage. And because they remain so mysterious and deadly, the best we can do is to be prepared and remember that a tornado demands nothing less than our total respect.
Storm Week continues tomorrow night. Don't miss Hurricane. 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, right here on the Weather Channel.